The story of the Knights Templar is steeped in mystery, intrigue, and controversy. Their rise in the 12th century is one of the most fascinating chapters in history. But as quickly as they appeared, the Templars vanished from the public eye, leaving behind a legacy shrouded in secrets. While history has told us that the Templars were nothing more than a religious order of warriors who fought in the Crusades, many historians and scholars now believe that there's far more to their story than we've been led to believe. What if their story didn't end in the 14th century? What if the Templar Order's real purpose, their true mission, was something far greater, more hidden, and more powerful than we can imagine? To understand the true legacy of the Templars, we must first ask ourselves, why were they so powerful in their time? Formed in 1119 by a group of knights who wanted to protect Christian pilgrims traveling to the Holy Land, the Templars rapidly grew in influence, becoming both a military and financial powerhouse. But despite their noble mission, their wealth and power seemed to draw more enemies than allies. By the early 14th century, the Knights Templar had become a powerful force, with vast land holdings and influence in royal courts across Europe. But instead of continuing their journey as an order of protectors, they were betrayed by those in power. King Philip IV of France, deeply in debt to the Templars, launched a series of attacks on the order, culminating in the infamous arrest of thousands of knights on Friday, October 13, 1307. The knights were accused of heresy, blasphemy, and a series of dark, unspeakable crimes. The Templars were tortured, burned at the stake, and ultimately disbanded by Pope Clement V. Yet, despite their fall, the mystery surrounding their disappearance has never quite disappeared. History tells us that the Templars were wiped out, their influence dismantled by political powers. But some believe this was a cover-up, a carefully crafted narrative designed to mask a more dangerous truth. Was the Templar Order truly eradicated, or did they simply retreat into the shadows, continuing their work in secret? Could their true purpose have been something far greater than what we have been told? Even more perplexing are the stories and legends that began to emerge in the wake of their downfall. The Templars are often associated with some of the most iconic mysteries of history, most notably, the Holy Grail. But the Grail isn't the only secret the Templars might have been guarding. Could there be hidden treasures, forbidden knowledge, or powerful artifacts that were carefully concealed by the Templars, passed down through secretive generations? Throughout the centuries, the idea that the Templars left behind a hidden legacy has persisted. We see their influence in countless secret societies, such as the Freemasons, who claim to carry the Templar torch. Their symbols are present in ancient architecture, in mysterious religious texts, and in esoteric practices that suggest that the Templars were not merely knights, but also mystics, philosophers, and alchemists. And these ideas were not confined to fringe conspiracy theories. Scholars, historians, and even royalty have long been fascinated by the idea that the Templars had access to knowledge far beyond their time. This has led many to ask, if the Templars were not truly destroyed, what were they hiding and where did they go? For centuries, there have been reports of Templar-like symbols appearing in unexpected places, in the architecture of ancient churches, in the layout of cities, and even in the designs of modern-day corporations. Could these symbols be more than just coincidence? Might they be a clue, a breadcrumb trail left by the Templars to point us toward their hidden legacy? Some even believe that the Templars might have had a far-reaching impact on the world, with their influence stretching into the formation of major historical events, including the founding of the United States. While mainstream history often dismisses these theories as mere myth or fantasy, there are those who believe that the Templars were far more than just a medieval order of knights. In fact, many argue that their work continues to this day, passed down through generations of secret societies, powerful families, and individuals who claim to protect the knowledge the Templars once held. What knowledge did they possess? What truths were they guarding so fiercely that they risked everything to protect it, even in the face of their brutal persecution? The idea of a hidden Templar legacy is a compelling one. It suggests that what we have been taught about the Templars, about their fall, their rise, their purpose, might be only part of the story. If we follow the trail they left behind, could we uncover a secret that has been hidden for centuries? A truth that, if revealed, could change the way we understand history, religion, and even our place in the world? As we delve deeper into the enigmatic history of the Templars, we will uncover clues that challenge conventional wisdom and lead us to a shocking revelation: that the Templars' legacy did not end with their destruction. It lives on, concealed in plain sight, waiting to be rediscovered. Through secret codes, hidden artifacts, and mysterious symbols, the Templars may have passed down their knowledge and their mission through the ages, safeguarding it from the eyes of the world. What we find may not only change how we view the past, it may redefine the future. In the sections to follow, we will explore the hidden Templar legacy, piecing together evidence that suggests the Order's influence stretches far beyond the historical records we know. We'll dive into the secret societies that inherited their knowledge, the artifacts that may still be hidden, and the modern-day implications of the Templars' mysterious legacy. As we uncover these secrets, one thing becomes clear: the story of the Templars is far from over. It's only just beginning. The fall of the Knights Templar is one of the most dramatic moments in medieval history, a story that has sparked endless debate and speculation. The official narrative tells us that the Templars were a military order that had outlived its usefulness and was ultimately disbanded for reasons of greed, corruption, and political maneuvering. But this conventional explanation raises more questions than it answers. What was the real reason behind the sudden and violent collapse of one of the most powerful organizations in Christendom? Was it truly a matter of greed and scandal, or was there a deeper, more sinister motive at play? The mainstream version of events, widely accepted by historians, holds that in the early 14th century, the Templars were accused of heresy, sodomy, and idolatry, and that these charges were enough to justify their downfall. On Friday, October 13th, 1307, King Philip IV of France ordered the mass arrest of Templar Knights, accusing them of committing a range of heinous acts. The charges included spitting on the cross, denying Christ, engaging in homosexual acts, and worshipping a mysterious idol known as Baphomet. These allegations were brutal and sensational, and the Templars were subjected to extensive torture in order to extract confessions, leading many to confess to crimes they may never have committed. The public trial of the Templars was an ugly spectacle. Dozens of knights were burned at the stake, and the Grand Master of the Order, Jacques de Molay, was eventually executed in 1314, his death marking the official end of the Templar Order. Yet, as horrific as these events were, they raise an unsettling question. Were the charges against the Templars legitimate, or were they fabricated to serve a political agenda? The truth is that the accusations against the Templars were likely motivated by far more than religious or moral concerns. King Philip IV, known as Philip the Fair, was deeply in debt to the Templar Order. For years, he had borrowed large sums of money from the Templars, and his kingdom was facing a financial crisis. The Templars, who controlled vast wealth and had banking operations across Europe, represented an easy target for Philip, who saw an opportunity to seize their assets and eliminate a political rival. The timing of the arrests is also suspicious. It came just as the Templars' power and influence in France were at their peak, and just as Philip was looking for ways to increase his own power. By accusing the Templars of heresy and other crimes, Philip was able to create a narrative that justified his actions, allowing him to dissolve the order and seize their wealth without facing significant opposition. This raises the uncomfortable possibility that the charges against the Templars were, at best, exaggerated, and at worst, completely fabricated. Could it be that the Templars were targeted not because they were guilty of the crimes they were accused of, but because they had something valuable, something dangerous, that certain people wanted to control? It's worth noting that many of the Templars' most revered artifacts, including secret manuscripts, were reportedly lost or never recovered after their fall. These artifacts, many believe, held esoteric knowledge, perhaps tied to the Holy Grail or other ancient secrets that could have had profound religious and political significance. If the Templars had been protecting such knowledge, it would make sense why the French king might have wanted to destroy their order. He could not allow such powerful secrets to remain in the hands of an independent group. The question of what the Templars were truly guarding, what they were hiding, has fascinated scholars for centuries. Did they possess ancient texts, forbidden knowledge, or perhaps even a holy artifact so powerful that it could change the course of history? Could the Templars' involvement in the Crusades and their association with the Holy Land have led them to uncover something so sacred and dangerous that they were willing to die to protect it? The idea that the Templars were protectors of a secret that threatened the religious and political order of Europe is a compelling one. After all, the Templars were not just soldiers. They were also learned men, often well-versed in the ancient sciences, philosophy, and theology. Their role in the Crusades wasn't just about fighting wars. They were also involved in preserving and discovering ancient knowledge, some of which may have been linked to pre-Christian civilizations, mysticism, and occult practices. The Templars' true purpose may not have been limited to their public role as crusading knights. Could they have been part of an ancient tradition that extended far beyond the borders of medieval Christendom? Some believe that the Templars were influenced by earlier, more secretive societies, such as the Essenes, Gnostics, or even the builders of the Great Pyramids, who possessed esoteric knowledge passed down through the ages. If this is true, the Templars' downfall wasn't just about financial greed or political maneuvering. It was about the desire to suppress knowledge that certain powers feared could destabilize the established religious order. One of the most perplexing aspects of the Templar story is the question of their ultimate fate. While most historians agree that the order was officially disbanded by the Pope, some believe that the Templars didn't disappear completely. They simply went underground. Could the Templars have gone into hiding, abandoning their public image and continuing their work in secret? There are numerous theories suggesting that the Templars escaped persecution and fled to various parts of Europe, where they maintained clandestine operations for centuries. Some argue that the Templars joined forces with other secret societies, such as the Freemasons, and that their legacy lived on in these organizations, hidden from the world, but continuing to influence history in subtle ways. In fact, many of the symbols and rituals associated with Freemasonry bear striking similarities to those of the Templars, suggesting a connection that has yet to be fully explained. The idea that the Templars continued their work in secret has given rise to numerous conspiracy theories. Some claim that the Templars' hidden legacy was passed down through generations of powerful families, eventually culminating in secret organizations like the Illuminati or the Freemasons. These organizations, according to the theory, inherited the Templars' esoteric knowledge and their mission, using it to manipulate world events from behind the scenes. While there is little direct evidence to support these claims, the fact remains that the Templars' disappearance has been shrouded in mystery, and many aspects of their history remain unknown. The official story of the Templars' fall, an episode of corruption, scandal, and betrayal, may be nothing more than a carefully crafted narrative designed to hide the true nature of the Order's legacy. Ultimately, the fall of the Templar Order may have been far more complicated and multifaceted than we've been led to believe. While the charges against them may have been fabricated and the reasons for their disbandment politically motivated, one thing is certain. The Templars were a group with secrets that some wanted to destroy and others wanted to preserve. The Templar story is not simply the tale of a medieval military order, but the story of hidden knowledge, lost treasures, and powerful forces that sought to keep certain truths buried. It is a story that continues to unfold, even today, as we continue to search for answers about the true nature of the Templar legacy. The notion of hidden treasures has been woven into the very fabric of Templar legend. While much of what we know about the Knights Templar revolves around their military prowess, their wealth, and their enigmatic role in the Crusades, one of the most tantalizing aspects of their history is the question of what happened to the Templars' vast fortune after their sudden fall in the early 14th century. Were the riches of the Templar Order lost to history, or did they vanish into the hands of a select few, carefully concealed from the public eye for centuries? For years, The mystery of the Templar treasures has captivated the imagination of historians, treasure hunters, and conspiracy theorists alike. From gold and silver to sacred artifacts of immense religious significance, the Templars were believed to have accumulated vast wealth during their time. But as their order was ruthlessly dismantled by King Philip IV of France and Pope Clement V, the question arose, what happened to these treasures? And if they were hidden, were they concealed, and why? The official history tells us that, as the Templars were arrested and executed, their treasures were seized by Philip, who sought to bankrupt and humiliate them. But this story, while plausible, raises even more questions. Why would the Templars allow themselves to be stripped of their wealth so easily? Could it be that they had hidden their treasures before the arrests, anticipating the betrayal? And if they did, where did they hide them? The legend of the Templar treasure is closely intertwined with the idea that the order possessed ancient, sacred relics, perhaps even the Holy Grail itself. One of the most enduring theories is that the Templars, upon discovering the Grail during their time in the Holy Land, decided to safeguard it from the hands of both the Church and the secular authorities. If the Grail, or a similarly significant artifact, was indeed in their possession, its protection would have been paramount. But it wasn't just the Grail that the Templars might have hidden. Many believe that the Order discovered other ancient secrets during their time in Jerusalem, possibly even the lost secrets of early Christianity or relics of a far older civilization with knowledge that could rewrite history. This belief is tied to the idea that the Templars were more than just soldiers. They were also scholars and mystics steeped in esoteric knowledge and practices. They were known to have had access to rare manuscripts, ancient texts, and secretive teachings that went beyond the religious dogma of the time. What's more, the Templars were granted privileged access to the Church's archives and libraries, where they may have encountered lost or forbidden knowledge. It is said that when the Templars left the Holy Land after the Crusades, they carried with them not only material wealth, but a wealth of knowledge that could change the course of history. Whether it was a sacred text, a set of ancient scrolls, or the Grail itself, these items were likely of great importance to the Templars. Could they have hidden them away in secret locations, passing them down through generations of trusted descendants or hidden societies? The mystery of the Templar treasure is also closely linked to the idea that the Knights may have created a network of secret caches or hidden vaults, where they store their wealth and sacred artifacts. Over the centuries, numerous claims have surfaced regarding the locations of these treasures, with some suggesting that they were hidden in Europe, others pointing to the Americas. Some legends suggest that the Templars established hidden strongholds in remote areas, perhaps in the mountainous regions of Scotland, where they could safeguard their treasures from the eyes of the Church and secular rulers. One of the most famous tales is that of the Templar treasure buried in the hills of Oak Island, off the coast of Nova Scotia. According to this theory, the Templars traveled to North America long before Christopher Columbus and hid their treasures in a complex system of underground tunnels. This theory is often cited as one of the most intriguing and mysterious of all Templar legends, drawing treasure hunters and researchers from around the world who believe that the key to unlocking the treasure lies somewhere beneath Oak Island. Another prominent theory revolves around the legendary Templar map, a chart supposedly drawn by the Templars themselves to reveal the location of their hidden wealth. Some believe that this map led to specific points across Europe where the treasure was concealed, while others suggest that it may point to locations as far-flung as the New World. If such a map exists, it could be one of the most valuable documents in history, providing a trail that could lead to the long-lost treasures of the Templars. Beyond the physical treasure, some believe that the Templars left behind symbolic clues embedded in their architecture and rituals, pointing to the secret knowledge they protected. The Templars were known for their elaborate and highly symbolic buildings, including churches, castles, and chapels, many of which still stand today. The fall of the Knights Templar is one of the most dramatic and mysterious chapters in medieval history. It is a tale of betrayal, ambition, and the collision of religious and political powers. The sudden and violent disbandment of the Templar Order in the early 14th century is often seen as the final chapter in the story of the Templars. But beneath the surface, there is a deeper, hidden narrative, the story of how the Templars' true legacy may have only begun after their official dissolution, with their most significant influence remaining in the shadows, far beyond the public eye. The public fall of the Templars can be traced back to one man, King Philip IV of France, also known as Philip the Fair. By the early 1300s, Philip was heavily indebted to the Templars. The order had been a key financial supporter of his reign, lending him vast sums of money to fund his wars and political ambitions. But the French king's finances were in turmoil, and the looming debt burden became a serious problem. To make matters worse, Philip was determined to assert greater control over the church and its wealth, and the Templars represented a powerful and independent entity that operated outside the authority of the French crown. This brewing tension between Philip and the Templars was exacerbated by the fact that the order had grown incredibly wealthy and influential over the course of the previous century. The Templars had established a vast network of properties and holdings throughout Europe, many of which were exempt from taxation. They had also become a powerful military and financial force, with their own armies and extensive banking operations. This level of independence made them a target for a king who sought to consolidate power and reclaim the wealth that he believed was owed to him. The spark that ignited the Templar Purge came in 1307 when King Philip, driven by a combination of financial desperation and political ambition, moved to strike at the heart of the order. On Friday, October 13th, 1307, he ordered the arrest of all Templars in France. They were accused of heresy, blasphemy, sodomy, and other charges, many of which were likely fabricated to justify their persecution. The timing of the arrests was no coincidence. The date, October 13th, has become infamous in the annals of history as the day when the Templars were betrayed by their own king. The Templars were rounded up in a massive and coordinated operation. Their leaders, including the Grand Master Jacques de Molay, were captured, tortured, and forced to confess to crimes that they may have never committed. The confessions were extracted under duress, as many of the accused were subjected to brutal interrogation techniques. Some Templars were burned at the stake, while others were imprisoned for life. The accusations levied against them range from the absurd to the grotesque. Allegations of idol worship, obscene rituals, and secretive, heretical practices that were designed to tarnish the order's reputation and strip them of their influence. But the purge did not stop at the arrests. Philip also moved to seize the Templars' wealth, land, and properties. These assets, which had been amassed over generations, were vast and valuable. The French king took control of the Templar estates, redistributing them to other religious orders and noble families loyal to the crown. In doing so, Philip effectively dismantled the Templar network in France, leaving the order's wealth in his own hands. By the end of the process, the Templars had been thoroughly disbanded in France, their leaders executed or imprisoned, and their assets seized. This public and violent end to the Templar Order was not just the result of Philip's political ambitions. It was also deeply intertwined with the complex power dynamics of medieval Europe. The Pope, Clement V, was caught between a rock and a hard place. While he initially hesitated to take action against the Templars, he was ultimately forced to comply with Philip's demands. The Templars' alleged heresy was condemned by the Church, and in 1312, under the pressure of both the French king and the growing political climate, Pope Clement V officially disbanded the order. The once mighty Templar Knights were now nothing more than a memory, their order formally erased from the annals of history. Yet, as much as the Templars were publicly dismantled and their reputation tarnished, the true story of their downfall is far from simple. In fact, some argue that the public end of the Templar Order was merely a smokescreen, a carefully orchestrated move to cover up a deeper, more profound reality. The Order's greatest legacy, the hidden power of their bloodlines, the treasure they guarded, and the esoteric knowledge they protected, may have only begun after their official dissolution. While Philip's persecution of the Templars appeared to wipe them off the map, rumors soon began to circulate that the order had not been fully eradicated. Many Templars managed to escape the sweep of the French king's forces, fleeing to other parts of Europe where the order still had influence. In Portugal, for example, the Templars were allowed to reorganize under the name of the Order of Christ, continuing their operations and even playing a role in the Age of Exploration. Some believe that these surviving Templars took their treasure and hidden knowledge with them, finding refuge in distant lands or secretive circles. One of the most enduring mysteries surrounding the Templars is their supposed treasure, which was believed to be hidden before their fall. The idea that the Templars had amassed vast riches during their time in the Holy Land is not just the stuff of legend. There are historical records that suggest the order may have had access to a vast fortune. But where did the treasure go after the order's disbandment? Was it hidden away in secret locations? Or did it disappear altogether, its contents locked away in the shadows of history? Theories abound regarding the fate of the Templar treasure. Some claim that the treasure was hidden in secret locations across Europe, perhaps in the vaults of Templar-controlled castles or buried beneath sacred sites. Others argue that the treasure was never material wealth at all, but a form of sacred knowledge, an ancient wisdom that the Templars had guarded for centuries. In this view, the Templar treasure was not gold and silver, but something much more valuable, the secrets of the ancients, knowledge that could alter the course of history if it were ever revealed. The most intriguing possibility, however, is that the Templars' influence did not end with their public fall. Many historians and conspiracy theorists believe that the true power of the Templars survived in secret, carried on through their descendants and secret societies. Some point to the Freemasons as a possible successor to the Templar legacy, with their secretive rituals and symbols believed to be influenced by Templar traditions. Others argue that the Templar bloodlines continued to exert influence behind the scenes, shaping the course of European history and even playing a role in the founding of the United States. In this sense, the Templars' public downfall may have been the beginning of a new phase in their existence. The order may have been disbanded, but the bloodlines they protected, the knowledge they preserved, and the power they wielded did not vanish. Instead, these elements were carried into the shadows, influencing world events from behind the scenes, hidden from the eyes of history. The fall of the Templars, then, is not just a story of a powerful medieval order that was crushed by political forces. It is a story of how an ancient and secretive institution may have continued to influence the world long after its official dissolution. The Templars were not merely disbanded. They went underground, their true power and legacy hidden from the world. What began as a public fall may have been, in truth, the start of a much larger and more covert story, one that continues to unfold in the shadows of history to this day. As we move forward, we will explore how the Templars' bloodlines may have survived the Purge, how their hidden treasures and knowledge might have been passed down through generations, and how their influence continues to reverberate in the modern world. The fall of the Templars was not the end. It was merely the beginning of a new chapter in the story of their mysterious legacy. As the smoke cleared and the flames of the Templar purge died down, most people believed the order had been obliterated, its leaders executed, its wealth plundered, and its secrets buried. The public narrative was simple. King Philip IV had succeeded in his campaign to dismantle the Templars, and with the Vatican's decree, the order was no more. Yet, hidden beneath the rubble of this public end was a far different story, one that has fascinated historians, conspiracy theorists, and seekers of ancient mysteries for centuries. The story of how the Templar bloodline survived. It is in this mysterious survival where the true intrigue lies. While the Templar Order was officially disbanded, there are compelling arguments that the most valuable legacy of the Templars, their bloodlines, were far from destroyed. In fact, some believe that the most powerful aspect of the order was not its wealth or military might, but the bloodlines it protected, bloodlines that held the key to ancient secrets and possibly a claim to a throne far greater than any kingdom of medieval Europe. The concept of Templar bloodlines comes with a host of tantalizing theories, many of which revolve around the idea that the Templars were more than mere warrior monks. They were perhaps the last defenders of a secret, sacred lineage, one that can be traced to royal families of ancient Europe or even back to the very origins of Christianity itself. This secret bloodline, some argue, was protected by the Templars with their lives. It is believed that this sacred lineage could have been a direct descendant of Jesus Christ, or even, as some theories suggest, the progeny of an ancient, hidden royal bloodline that once ruled Europe long before the fall of Rome. The most famous, and perhaps the most controversial, aspect of this theory is its connection to the Holy Grail. Over centuries, the Grail has been linked to ideas of divine blood and sacred descent. In the esoteric tradition, the Grail is not a mere cup, but a symbol of a bloodline, one that has been carried through time and guarded by secret societies, including the Templars. This bloodline was thought to be a direct descendant of Christ, and the Templars, in their quest for the Grail, were not only after an artifact, but after the preservation of this sacred line, which they believed to be central to the future of humankind. But how did this bloodline survive after the fall of the Templars? The theories diverge, but one common thread is the belief that after the public disbandment of the order, the bloodlines were hidden away, sheltered by surviving Templar knights and their allies. The remaining Templars, some believe, went underground, either finding refuge in sympathetic regions or merging with other secretive organizations. What is more fascinating is the idea that these bloodlines were not merely kept hidden in some dark corner of Europe. Instead, they were carefully cultivated, passed down through generations, and interwoven into the fabric of European royalty and the aristocracy. The idea that these bloodlines might have merged with royal families is not without basis in history. In fact, there are theories that suggest that some of the most prominent European royal houses, particularly those of France, Spain, and England, might have carried Templar bloodlines within their veins. The notion that the Templars secretly intermarried with noble families is not a recent idea. It is an ancient belief that has persisted in various forms since the fall of the order. One of the most prominent families linked to these secret bloodlines is the Merovingians, the ancient royal family that ruled much of what is now France in the early medieval period. The Merovingians have long been rumored to be the descendants of Jesus Christ and Mary Magdalene, a theory famously popularized in the modern era by books such as the Da Vinci Code. According to these theories, the Merovingians, and by extension the Templars, were the keepers of this sacred bloodline, a line that had to be kept secret for fear of persecution. After the fall of the Templars, these bloodlines allegedly continued through a network of secretive families and organizations, hidden in plain sight, yet wielding enormous power behind the scenes. But the survival of these bloodlines wasn't just a matter of aristocratic intermarriage or royal protection. The Templars, being a highly organized and resourceful order, also took measures to safeguard their sacred lineage through the creation of secret societies. The Freemasons, perhaps the most famous of these societies, are often believed to be the direct inheritors of the Templar legacy, not only in their rituals and symbols, but in the preservation of the Templar bloodlines. The Freemasons, many theorists argue, were founded by former Templars who went into hiding after the order's disbandment. The Masonic tradition contains numerous symbols and motifs that echo the Templar heritage, from the square and compass to the all-seeing eye. But more importantly, some believe that the Freemasons continued to protect the Templar bloodlines, ensuring that the descendants of the order would not be wiped out entirely. Over centuries, these bloodlines may have been passed down in secret, integrated into the highest levels of European and American society, from the royal courts of Europe to the founding fathers of the United States. Another element in the survival of the Templar bloodlines is the idea of esoteric knowledge. The Templars, throughout their existence, were reputed to have had access to ancient wisdom, possibly even knowledge that predates Christianity itself. The Templars are believed to have uncovered, during their time in the Holy Land, secret texts, artifacts, and teachings that were lost to the rest of the world. These treasures were said to hold the key to understanding the true nature of humanity, the divine, and the universe. If the Templars had indeed guarded such knowledge, it is conceivable that they would have sought to protect it by passing it down through their bloodlines, ensuring that future generations could access this wisdom. The modern-day descendants of these bloodlines, if they exist, are difficult to identify. However, there are tantalizing clues scattered throughout history that hint at the continuation of the Templar legacy. In many countries, there are elite families with ancient bloodlines who claim descent from noble and sometimes mysterious sources. These families often hold vast influence in politics, finance, and culture, and some historians and researchers have speculated that their true lineage may trace back to the Templars. One fascinating example of this theory is the connection between the Templars and the famous Scottish clan, the Stuarts. Some believe that the Stuarts, who ruled Scotland and later England, were directly descended from the Templars, and that their royal bloodline carries with it the remnants of the Templar legacy. The famous Rosslyn Chapel in Scotland, long associated with the Templars, is believed by some to be a key repository of Templar knowledge and symbols, pointing to the idea that Scotland may have been one of the safe havens where the Templar bloodlines were preserved. Moreover, in the Americas, some conspiracy theorists point to the founding fathers of the United States as potential inheritors of Templar secrets. The presence of Masonic symbolism in many of the foundational structures of the U.S. government, from the layout of Washington, D.C., to the imagery on the Great Seal of the United States, has fueled speculation that Templar bloodlines may have played a role in the founding of the country. But the question remains, why would the Templar bloodlines remain hidden for so long? The answer, it seems, lies in the preservation of power and knowledge. The Templars were not just guarding a treasure. They were protecting a legacy that had the potential to reshape the world. For centuries, the descendants of the Templars, through their secretive societies and royal marriages, kept the flame of their ancestors alive, waiting for a time when the world might be ready to uncover the truth of their lineage. The secret survival of the Templar bloodlines is one of the most compelling aspects of their legacy. It speaks to the enduring power of hidden history, of ancient families and societies that have shaped the world in ways that remain obscured from public view. As we move forward in this narrative, we will delve deeper into the fascinating mystery of these bloodlines, how they survived, how they hid in plain sight, and what their true significance may be for the world we live in today. The Templars, it seems, may not have been defeated at all. They simply retreated into the shadows, where their bloodlines continued to influence the course of history in silence. The Holy Grail is one of the most enduring symbols in Western mythology, a mystical object that has captured the imaginations of writers, theologians, historians, and treasure hunters for centuries. Its associations with divine bloodlines, eternal life, and profound wisdom have made it the subject of countless legends and stories. However, its true meaning and nature have always remained shrouded in mystery, particularly in relation to the Knights Templar. While much has been written about the Grail as a cup, a relic, or even a symbol of spiritual enlightenment, there's an underlying theory that the Templars' search for the Grail was not simply a quest for an artifact. Rather, it was a search for something far more powerful, sacred knowledge. At the heart of the Templar Order's activities in the Holy Land during the Crusades is the belief that the Templars stumbled upon something extraordinary, something far beyond the riches and relics they were tasked with protecting. According to various legends and esoteric traditions, the Templars uncovered hidden knowledge that had been concealed for millennia, knowledge that was linked to the ancient origins of Christianity, the mysteries of the ancient world, and perhaps even the secrets of divine creation itself. This knowledge, some believe, was the true Holy Grail, not a physical chalice, but a metaphysical truth that could unlock the deepest mysteries of existence. The Grail legend, in its many forms, has always been intertwined with the themes of sacred bloodlines, spiritual purity, and the search for a higher understanding of the universe. From the medieval tales of King Arthur and his knights to the apocryphal Gnostic texts, the Grail is often depicted as the key to salvation, a vessel that holds divine power. For the Templars, who were deeply involved in both religious and esoteric practices, the Grail was not simply a relic to be worshipped, but a symbol of something far more profound, a living connection to a divine or ancient bloodline, a conduit through which sacred knowledge could be accessed. In their time in the Holy Land, the Templars were not just fighting battles and securing Jerusalem. They were also uncovering and preserving ancient texts, sacred relics, and hidden wisdom that had been buried for centuries. Some scholars and theorists believe that, during their time in Jerusalem, the Templars discovered or were entrusted with certain ancient documents or artifacts that contained teachings from the pre-Christian world, possibly from the time of the Essenes, or even from the lost libraries of Alexandria. These teachings, according to these theories, contained secrets that had been passed down by the earliest Christians, and perhaps even by earlier, non-Christian spiritual traditions that were suppressed by the rise of the Catholic Church. The discovery of these sacred writings would have been a transformative event for the Templars. They were not simply warriors. Many were educated men, well-versed in religious lore, mysticism, and the ancient texts of the world. As such, the Templars' discovery of hidden wisdom could have illuminated for them a deeper, more spiritual truth about humanity's divine purpose. In some versions of the story, this knowledge was said to be connected to the idea of Christ's true lineage, suggesting that the Templars' quest for the Grail was not just a quest for an object, but for the preservation and understanding of a sacred bloodline that had been hidden for centuries. The Grail, in this context, becomes a symbol of a divinely chosen bloodline that carries the key to the world's mysteries. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence supporting the idea that the Templars were seeking hidden knowledge rather than simply material wealth or religious artifacts comes from the legends surrounding their role in the Temple of Solomon in Jerusalem. According to some esoteric traditions, the Templars did not just uncover treasure, but an ancient, hidden library beneath the Temple Mount, a library containing sacred texts that predate the Bible, texts that could have revealed the true nature of Christianity, its origins, and its connections to other ancient religious traditions. This library, some argue, may have contained Gnostic scriptures, which emphasize direct personal knowledge of the divine and which present a radically different view of Jesus Christ and his teachings than the one propagated by the Orthodox Christian Church. The Templars' involvement with the Temple of Solomon has long been a point of fascination. The name Templar itself is derived from the Temple of Solomon, the ancient structure that stood on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, believed by many to be the site of the most sacred and mysterious teachings of the ancient world. According to some theories, the Templars were drawn to the temple because they believed it was the site of an esoteric tradition, one that preserved the true teachings of Solomon, the wisdom of the ancients, and the connection between the divine and humanity. The Templars were not just interested in the material treasures of the temple, such as gold and artifacts, but in the knowledge that lay hidden beneath the surface. The idea that the Templars were guarding or seeking the Grail as a symbol of sacred knowledge is further supported by the fact that many of the Templars' symbols and rituals are closely associated with the idea of ancient wisdom. The Templars' use of geometric symbols, such as the square and compass, which would later become iconic symbols of Freemasonry, suggests that they were familiar with ancient forms of knowledge and symbolism that transcended the Christian Church's teachings. The Templars' connection to the Freemasons is often cited as evidence that the Templars' esoteric knowledge and sacred mission were passed down in secret through the centuries, long after the public dissolution of the order. The legend of the Holy Grail also carries strong associations with the theme of divine bloodlines, which plays a crucial role in the Temple mythos. In many stories, the Grail is said to be connected to the bloodline of Jesus Christ, with Mary Magdalene as its central figure. The idea that the Grail is not just an artifact, but a symbol of a divine and royal bloodline is a theme that resonates deeply within the Templar tradition. According to this theory, the Grail represents the descendants of Jesus and Mary Magdalene, whose bloodline was preserved by the Templars, and whose descendants continue to exert influence in secret. The connection between the Templars and the Grail bloodline has been widely explored in both historical and fictional works. Some theories suggest that the Templars, during their time in the Holy Land, uncovered evidence of this bloodline, either through ancient documents or through oral traditions preserved by secret communities. In this view, the Templars were not just guarding material wealth, but the knowledge of a hidden royal lineage that could change the course of history. The Grail, as the Templars saw it, was more than just an object of spiritual significance. It was a key to understanding humanity's true heritage, a heritage that connected the divine with the earthly realm. It is no wonder, then, that the Templars would have gone to such lengths to protect this knowledge and ensure its survival. The Grail was not simply an object to be found, but a symbol of a deeper, more profound truth that had been suppressed by the authorities of the time. As the Templars were persecuted and their order disbanded, many of the surviving members took their knowledge and their sacred mission into secrecy, preserving the teachings and traditions of the Grail in hidden societies. These secret groups, some believe, carried the torch of the Templar quest for the Grail through the centuries, passing down the knowledge and the bloodlines in secrecy. Whether through the Freemasons, the Rosicrucians, or other esoteric societies, the Templar legacy of the Grail has endured, subtly influencing the course of history. The true nature of the Holy Grail, whether it is an object, a bloodline, or a hidden knowledge, remains one of the greatest mysteries in history. But what is clear is that the Templars, in their quest for the Grail, were searching for something far more profound than mere treasure. They were searching for a truth that could transcend time, a secret knowledge that could illuminate the very nature of the divine and our place within the cosmos. It is this search, this eternal quest for sacred knowledge, that has kept the legend of the Holy Grail alive, and that continues to captivate us today. As we continue to explore the legacy of the Templars, we will dive deeper into their search for the Grail and the secret knowledge they may have uncovered. We will unravel the threads of this mystery and consider how the quest for the Holy Grail might still echo in the hidden corners of our world today. For centuries, the idea of lost cities and hidden places has fascinated humanity, particularly in relation to ancient and secretive orders like the Knights Templar. Amidst the historical records, myths, and legends, one persistent belief is that the Templars, after their fall in the early 14th century, left behind not only material treasures but entire cities, secret strongholds, and underground labyrinths that housed their greatest secrets. While many dismiss these theories as mere fantasy, there are compelling reasons to consider that the Templars, with their far-reaching influence and deep understanding of ancient mysteries, could have constructed or discovered hidden cities, hiding their knowledge and wealth in places few would think to look. When we think of the Templars, we often imagine the impressive castles and fortifications they built throughout Europe and the Middle East. However, their true legacy may lie not just in the structures they built above ground, but in the secret cities and underground sites that they may have created beneath the earth. Some researchers suggest that, rather than allowing their treasures and sacred relics to fall into the hands of their enemies, the Templars may have chosen to hide them in elaborate underground locations, far from the reach of the Church and the secular authorities. These hidden places concealed beneath the earth could have served as sanctuaries for the Templars' most sacred knowledge that, if uncovered, might change the course of history. One of the most intriguing theories concerning the Templars' hidden cities is the idea that they possessed advanced knowledge of underground construction techniques, possibly passed down from ancient civilizations or acquired during their time in the Holy Land. This knowledge would have allowed the Templars to build subterranean structures that could withstand both time and discovery. These underground cities may have served not only as places of protection, but as repositories for sacred relics, important manuscripts, and esoteric texts, perhaps even the Holy Grail itself. Some believe that the Templars constructed elaborate labyrinths, using complex systems of tunnels and chambers to protect their secrets, ensuring that only those with the proper initiation could access them. In Europe, there are several locations that have long been associated with Templar activity and which may contain hidden Templar sites. One such location is the region of Rosslyn, in Scotland, home to the famous Rosslyn Chapel. While the chapel is known for its intricate carvings and symbolic architecture, some believe that there are hidden crypts beneath the chapel itself. These crypts, according to legend, may contain the most sacred treasures of the Templar Order, possibly including the Holy Grail. The idea that Rosslyn Chapel is more than just a place of worship has fueled theories that the chapel sits atop an ancient underground network of tunnels and chambers. If true, Rosslyn could be one of the most important sites for understanding the hidden legacy of the Templars. The notion of hidden Templar cities is not confined to Europe. In fact, some theories suggest that the Templars may have established secret strongholds in distant lands, possibly even across the Atlantic. The theory of Templar involvement in the New World has gained traction in recent years, particularly with the discovery of sites like Oak Island in Nova Scotia, Canada. Oak Island has long been the subject of speculation regarding buried treasure, and some researchers believe that the Templars, having voyaged to the Americas long before Columbus, may have hidden their wealth and sacred relics on the island. The island's elaborate system of shafts and tunnels suggests that someone, or something, was intentionally hiding something beneath its surface. Could Oak Island have been a Templar stronghold, a place where the Order buried their greatest secrets, far from the prying eyes of the Church? Similar theories abound regarding other locations around the world. Some suggest that the Templars may have hidden their treasures in places like the deserts of Egypt or the mountains of the Holy Land. The key to understanding these hidden locations, according to some, lies in the symbols and codes left behind by the Templars. These symbols, embedded in the architecture of Templar castles, chapels, and fortresses, may serve as markers, pointing the way to hidden underground cities or treasure troves. Just as the Templars were known for their elaborate and highly symbolic architecture, they may have encoded maps, clues, and directions in their buildings, creating a network of hidden locations that could be unlocked only by those who understood the key. The connection between the Templars and secret underground cities is also tied to their possible possession of ancient knowledge. Some researchers believe that the Templars, during their time in the Holy Land, may have uncovered secrets dating back to earlier civilizations, such as the Egyptians, the Sumerians, or even the Atlanteans. According to this theory, the Templars had access to wisdom that had been passed down through the ages, including knowledge of advanced construction techniques, sacred geometry, and the esoteric teachings of these ancient cultures. The idea that the Templars may have built their underground cities using this ancient knowledge suggests that these sites were not only secure but also sacred, designed to preserve the most important truths of the past for future generations. In addition to the possibility of hidden Templar cities in the physical world, there is also the belief that the Templars may have created symbolic or metaphysical cities, places that exist in the realm of the mind or the spirit. The Templars were known for their deep involvement in mysticism and the occult, and many of their rituals were designed to connect them with higher spiritual realms. The idea that the Templars constructed hidden cities in a metaphysical sense suggests that they were not merely concerned with the material preservation of their knowledge, but with its transmission to future generations on a spiritual level. This could explain why so many of the symbols associated with the Templars, such as the square and compass, the pentagram, and the all-seeing eye, are thought to contain hidden spiritual meanings. The Templars' true city, according to this view, may be one that exists beyond the physical world, a place that can only be reached through spiritual enlightenment and initiation. As we delve into the mystery of the Templars' hidden cities, it becomes clear that the true legacy of the Order may lie not just in the treasures they accumulated or the fortresses they built, but in the knowledge they left behind. Whether this knowledge is concealed in underground cities, hidden within the walls of ancient chapels, or encoded in mystical symbols, the Templars have left behind a trail of clues that continues to intrigue researchers, treasure hunters, and seekers of truth. The belief that the Templars created secret cities beneath the earth is a compelling one, and while much of the evidence remains elusive, the search for these hidden places continues to captivate the imagination. In conclusion, the idea of hidden Templar cities, whether physical or metaphysical, remains one of the most enduring mysteries of the Order. The possibility that the Templars built secret strongholds beneath the earth or concealed their greatest treasures in underground labyrinths opens up a whole new dimension of Templar history. From Rosslyn Chapel in Scotland to Oak Island in Canada, There are numerous locations that may hold the key to uncovering the hidden legacy of the Templars. Whether these cities are hidden beneath the surface of the earth or within the realm of the spirit, the search for their secrets is a journey that promises to continue for generations to come. The Templars, it seems, have left behind a legacy that transcends time and space, a legacy that continues to challenge and inspire those who dare to seek the truth. The Holy Grail, one of the most enduring and elusive artifacts in history, is often associated with the Knights Templar. For centuries, the Grail has captivated the imaginations of historians, mystics, and adventurers alike. The question that remains is, was the Grail more than just a myth or legend? Did the Templars, with their vast resources, esoteric knowledge, and far-reaching influence, truly possess the Grail or a sacred relic closely tied to it? While mainstream history tends to dismiss the idea of the Grail as a literal object, many alternative historians and scholars believe that the Templars, after their time in the Holy Land, not only uncovered the Grail, but also understood its deeper, symbolic significance. The Templar Order's connection to the Grail has long been a subject of speculation. According to legend, the Grail was the cup that Christ used at the Last Supper, and it is said to have possessed miraculous powers, including the ability to heal the sick and grant eternal life. In many versions of the Grail myth, the search for the Grail becomes a quest for ultimate spiritual enlightenment, an object of immense value that transcends physical wealth. But what if the Grail, in the context of the Templars, was not merely a physical object, but a key to understanding hidden truths about the universe, divine knowledge, and spiritual ascension? One theory suggests that the Templars may have discovered the Grail, or a relic linked to it, during their time in the Holy Land. In the 12th and 13th centuries, the Templars were deeply involved in the Crusades, particularly in Jerusalem. They spent considerable time in the Temple Mount, the site where Solomon's temple once stood. The Temple Mount has long been regarded as a site of immense spiritual significance, and many believe that it is also home to ancient secrets, lost knowledge, and powerful relics. Some researchers speculate that the Templars uncovered the Grail or a related artifact during their excavations beneath the Temple Mount. If the Templars did indeed uncover the Grail, it is believed that they would have understood its symbolic power and its connection to both Christian and pre-Christian traditions. The Grail, in many of its interpretations, represents divine wisdom, spiritual enlightenment, and the quest for knowledge. In this sense, the Templars, with their deep involvement in mysticism, alchemy, and sacred geometry, were ideally positioned to unlock the Grail's secrets. The Order was not merely a military force. It was also a brotherhood of spiritual seekers, dedicated to preserving and transmitting ancient wisdom. The idea that the Templars possessed a sacred relic like the Grail aligns with their mission to guard esoteric knowledge, much of which had been hidden for centuries and passed down through ancient civilizations. The notion that the Templars possessed the Grail also explains the intense efforts to suppress and discredit the Order following their downfall in 1307. When King Philip IV of France, with the backing of Pope Clement V, ordered the arrest of the Templar Knights, he accused them of a wide range of crimes, including heresy, blasphemy, and even worshipping the idol Baphomet. But what if the real reason for the persecution was not just a desire to eliminate a powerful military order, but a determination to suppress the Grail's secrets? If the Templars had indeed discovered the Grail, then the powers that sought to control the flow of knowledge, such as the Church and the monarchy, would have seen the Order as a dangerous threat. The idea of the Templars possessing such a powerful and divine relic would explain why the Church was so eager to destroy the Order and confiscate their wealth and knowledge. However, the Templars were not easily silenced. Many of the knights escaped the Purge, fleeing to distant lands, including Scotland, where they were protected by sympathetic rulers. It is here that the Grail's legacy may have been hidden away, preserved in secret for future generations. The Grail, as both a physical and symbolic object, could have been safeguarded in remote locations, such as Rosslyn Chapel in Scotland, which has long been linked to Templar activity. Some believe that the chapel was constructed as a protective structure for the Grail and other sacred relics, and that hidden chambers beneath the chapel contain the artifacts that the Templars sought to protect. The carvings and symbols found in Rosslyn Chapel are filled with references to the Grail and to esoteric knowledge, further fueling the theory that the chapel was built to conceal the Grail's secrets. There are also theories that the Grail is not just a cup or chalice, but a symbol of divine knowledge, perhaps representing the lost teachings of Christ or an ancient understanding of the divine. Some believe that the Grail may be tied to the ancient concept of the Philosopher's Stone, a mythical substance said to have the power to transform base metals into gold and grant eternal life. The Philosopher's Stone, much like the Grail, is associated with alchemy and spiritual transformation, and its secrets were often guarded by secret societies throughout history. If the Templars did indeed possess such knowledge, it would explain their deep interest in alchemical and mystical practices, as well as their connection to the mystical traditions of the ancient world. The Grail, in this sense, becomes a metaphor for the search for hidden knowledge and spiritual enlightenment. The idea that the Grail was a symbol of divine wisdom is supported by the many references to it in medieval literature, most notably in the Arthurian legends. In these tales, the Grail is not just a material object, but a symbol of the highest spiritual attainment. The knights who embark on the quest for the Grail are portrayed as seeking not just the cup, but the enlightenment and divine grace that it represents. The Templars, with their warrior-like commitment to protecting sacred knowledge, were uniquely suited to take on this quest. The association between the Templars and the Grail is also reflected in the fact that many of the earliest Grail legends, particularly those of the Knights of the Round Table, were written during the time of the Templar Order's height. Could these legends have been inspired by the Templars themselves and their pursuit of the Grail's deeper mysteries? Moreover, the Templars' connection to the Grail was not merely about the pursuit of knowledge. It was also tied to the idea of the Grail as a vehicle for divine power. Many researchers suggest that the Grail was seen by the Templars as a conduit to higher spiritual realms, a means by which they could access divine wisdom and divine power. This would explain the Templars' intense dedication to guarding the Grail, not only as a religious artifact, but as a tool of profound spiritual transformation. The idea that the Templars were not simply soldiers, but initiates in a higher order of spiritual wisdom aligns with their esoteric practices and their belief that they were guardians of sacred and hidden knowledge. As the centuries have passed, the Grail's true significance has remained shrouded in mystery, but the Templars' connection to it has not faded. The Order's secretive nature, their interest in alchemy, sacred geometry, and mysticism, and their deep ties to the legends of the Grail suggest that they may have possessed not just a cup or relic, but a profound understanding of spiritual enlightenment. The search for the Grail, for the Templars, may have been a search for deeper truths about existence itself, truths that have yet to be fully understood or revealed. In conclusion, the Templars' connection to the Holy Grail is one of the most fascinating and enduring aspects of their legacy. While mainstream history may dismiss the Grail as mere myth, the Templars, with their deep spiritual practices, mystical knowledge, and ties to ancient traditions, may have understood the Grail's true nature. Whether they possessed the physical Grail itself or a symbolic representation of divine wisdom, the Templars' pursuit of the Grail reflects their quest for deeper spiritual truths. The mystery of the Grail continues to captivate the imagination, and the Templars' role in preserving its secrets remains one of the greatest unsolved riddles of history. The mysterious and secretive nature of a Knights Templar has left an indelible mark on history, especially when it comes to secret societies. Despite their official dissolution in the early 14th century, the legacy of the Templars persists in the shadows of modern esoteric organizations. From Freemasonry to the Illuminati and beyond, many believe that these groups have not only inherited the Templars' symbols and rituals, but have also preserved the Order's core philosophies and esoteric teachings. What, then, is the extent of the Templars' influence on these modern secret societies? Did the Templars truly survive the Inquisition and continue their work under different names? Or is their connection to these organizations merely symbolic? One of the most significant and enduring connections between the Templars and modern secret societies is through Freemasonry. The Freemasons, a fraternal organization that traces its roots back to the medieval stonemason guilds, have long been associated with the Templars. Many Masonic scholars assert that Freemasonry is a direct descendant of the Templar order, with its initiation rituals, hierarchical structure, and esoteric teachings bearing a striking resemblance to those of the Templars. While Freemasonry is often viewed as a social organization dedicated to charity and brotherhood, some researchers suggest that the Freemasons are, in fact, the spiritual heirs of the Templars, continuing their ancient mission of preserving secret knowledge and wisdom. The connection between Freemasonry and the Templars is not merely symbolic. It is deeply rooted in the shared traditions of initiation and the transmission of hidden knowledge. The Templars, as a military and religious order, were known for their secretive practices, including the use of cryptic symbols and ritualistic ceremonies. These practices, many believe, were passed down to Freemasonry, which retained many of the Templar symbols, such as the square and compass, the all-seeing eye, and the Templar cross. The use of these symbols is not incidental. They represent a deeper, esoteric knowledge that is said to unlock hidden truths about the universe, spirituality, and the nature of reality. Freemasons, much like the Templars before them, view these symbols as keys to enlightenment, guiding their members toward greater understanding of both the material and spiritual worlds. Freemasonry's interest in secrecy and hidden knowledge aligns closely with the Templars' own philosophy. The Templars were not simply warriors. They were also mystics and seekers of divine wisdom. The order's deep involvement in sacred geometry, alchemy, and mystical traditions laid the foundation for many of the ideas that would later become central to Masonic thought. Some even claim that the Templars' obsession with protecting ancient, esoteric knowledge, including knowledge about the divine, the cosmos, and humanity's place in the universe, was transferred to Freemasonry, where it remains an integral part of the Masonic tradition. Additionally, some of the early Masonic lodges were established by individuals who were closely connected to the remnants of the Templar order. During the 16th and 17th centuries, as Freemasonry began to emerge in Europe, many of its founders were scholars, intellectuals, and political leaders who were aware of the Templars' mysterious legacy. These early Masons may have seen themselves as carrying on the work of the Templars, using the cover of a fraternal organization to continue the order's quest for knowledge and spiritual enlightenment. But the Templars' influence on modern secret societies extends far beyond Freemasonry. The idea that secret societies have preserved Templar teachings is a recurring theme in conspiracy theories, particularly those surrounding the Illuminati. Founded in the late 18th century by Adam Weishaupt, the Illuminati is often portrayed as a shadowy organization that controls world events from behind the scenes. While the Illuminati's actual influence has been widely debated, it is undeniable that the group was founded on principles of enlightenment, knowledge, and the rejection of religious dogma, principles that are deeply reminiscent of Templar ideals. The Illuminati, like the Templars, was also known for its use of secrecy and coded language. It sought to promote a philosophy of rationalism, free thought, and the pursuit of hidden knowledge. Some theorists suggest that the Illuminati's embrace of these principles was inspired by the Templars, who were similarly interested in challenging the status quo, exploring forbidden knowledge, and uncovering hidden truths about the world. Just as the Templars were accused of heresy and blasphemy by the Church, the Illuminati's embrace of secularism and intellectual freedom made them a target for the religious and political authorities of their time. In this sense, the Illuminati can be seen as a modern manifestation of the Templar spirit, continuing the fight against oppressive institutions while safeguarding ancient, hidden wisdom. In addition to Freemasonry and the Illuminati, other secret societies have been linked to the Templars through their shared focus on secrecy, hidden knowledge, and spiritual enlightenment. Groups such as the Rosicrucians, the Knights of Malta, and the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn all exhibit elements that align with Templar practices and philosophies. The Rosicrucians, for example, were a mystical order that emerged in the early 17th century, claiming to possess ancient knowledge about alchemy, the occult, and the mysteries of the universe. Like the Templars, the Rosicrucians were interested in preserving and transmitting esoteric teachings, often using symbols, rituals, and coded language to communicate their wisdom to initiates. Similarly, the Knights of Malta, a Catholic order that traces its origins to the medieval Crusades, shares many of the same ideals as the Templars. Both orders were dedicated to the protection of sacred sites, the defense of Christianity, and the pursuit of spiritual and moral excellence. Though the Knights of Malta were never disbanded like the Templars, their work has often been compared to that of the Templars in terms of both their religious mission and their involvement in secretive activities. The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, which emerged in the late 19th century, also carries echoes of Templar philosophy. This mystical society was dedicated to the study of the occult, including alchemy, astrology, and the Kabbalah, and it was closely associated with the study of ancient spiritual traditions. The order's emphasis on hidden knowledge, its use of complex rituals and symbols, and its focus on personal transformation bear a striking resemblance to the Templars' own mystical practices. These modern secret societies, despite their differences in origin and purpose, all share a common thread. They are the inheritors of the Templar legacy, preserving and passing down the secrets and wisdom that the Templars guarded so fiercely. Whether it is through the use of sacred geometry, the protection of ancient relics, or the pursuit of hidden spiritual truths, these organizations continue the work of the Templars in the modern world. The Templars may have been disbanded, but their influence lives on in the many secret societies that trace their roots back to the ancient order. The legacy of the Templars is not confined to the world of secret societies. Their influence can also be seen in the many conspiracy theories that have emerged throughout history, all of which revolve around the idea that the Templars were not truly destroyed, but instead went underground, preserving their knowledge and power for future generations. From theories about the Templars' role in shaping world events to speculations about their hidden treasures, the Templars continue to inspire fascination and intrigue. Whether or not they directly influenced the creation of modern secret societies, there is no doubt that the ideals of the Templars, secrecy, knowledge, spiritual enlightenment, have been passed down through the centuries, embedded in the rituals and philosophies of these organizations. In conclusion, the Knights Templars' influence on modern secret societies is both profound and enduring. While their physical existence may have ended in the early 14th century, their legacy continues to shape the world of esoteric traditions, occultism, and secret knowledge. From Freemasonry to the Illuminati and other mystical orders, the Templars' symbols, rituals, and philosophies have found new homes, where they are preserved and passed down through the ages. The Templars' quest for hidden knowledge, their protection of sacred truths, and their challenge to establish power structures remain alive in the modern world, continuing to inspire those who seek to uncover the secrets of the past. The dramatic fall of the Knights Templar is one of the most tragic and mysterious chapters in history. What began as a powerful and influential order, dedicated to protecting pilgrims, defending the Holy Land, and guarding sacred knowledge, ended in betrayal, persecution, and destruction. The Templars were dissolved in a series of events that took place over a few short years, but the underlying causes of their downfall are much deeper, rooted in political, religious, and economic forces that were in play long before their final disbandment. The fall of the Templars is not merely a story of military defeat or religious fervor. It is a tale of power, greed, betrayal, and ambition, one that continues to captivate historians and conspiracy theorists alike. At the heart of the Templars' destruction is the figure of King Philip IV of France, known as Philip the Fair. In the early 14th century, Philip was embroiled in a bitter and ongoing financial conflict with the Catholic Church, particularly with Pope Boniface VIII. Philip's kingdom was deeply in debt to the Church, and the king resented the Church's power and wealth, which were seen as a threat to his authority. As Philip's debts mounted, he sought a way to resolve the financial crisis that did not involve giving more power to the Church. In this context, the Templars became a target. The order was immensely wealthy, and its vast holdings in France made it an attractive prize for a king desperate for money. Philip's motives were not purely financial, however. The Templars were also a powerful and independent force in medieval Europe. They had their own military resources, their own vast network of properties and estates, and their own loyalty to the Pope rather than any secular ruler. This independence made the Templars a potential threat to the French monarchy's control over its own subjects. Philip feared that the Templars, with their military prowess and religious authority, could become a rival power within his kingdom. It was in this climate of political tension and mistrust that Philip began to hatch his plan to destroy the Templar Order. The first step in Philip's plot came on Friday, October 13th, 1307, a date that would later be immortalized in history. On that day, Philip ordered the arrest of all Templar knights in France. He charged them with a range of crimes, including heresy, sodomy, idolatry, and blasphemy. These charges were deliberately framed to paint the Templars as both religiously and morally corrupt, an affront to the Christian faith. Many of the Templars were tortured into confessing these crimes, and a number of high-ranking members, including the Grand Master Jacques de Molay, were arrested, imprisoned, and eventually executed. The accusations against the Templars were not only brutal, but also highly sensational, intended to destroy the order's reputation in the eyes of the public and the church. Philip's actions were not done in isolation. He had the full backing of Pope Clement V, who was under significant pressure from the French king. While Pope Clement's support for Philip's actions was controversial, the Pope ultimately agreed to dissolve the Templar Order and seize its assets. In 1312, at the Council of Vienne, Clement officially declared the Templars to be heretics, and the order was disbanded. The Pope's decision was, in many ways, a capitulation to Philip's demands. However, it also marked a turning point in the power dynamics between the church and secular rulers, illustrating the extent to which political forces could manipulate religious institutions for their own gain. The fall of the Templars was not just about politics or finance. It was also a matter of religious and spiritual betrayal. The Templars, who had once been the Church's most loyal servants, now found themselves branded as heretics and enemies of the faith. Their fall from grace was not merely the result of accusations, but also a reflection of the deep mistrust that existed between the Church and secular rulers, as well as within the order itself. The Templars, after all, had been involved in a series of secretive and esoteric practices, some of which were at odds with the Church's teachings. Their involvement in alchemy, sacred geometry, and the pursuit of hidden knowledge had made them suspicious in the eyes of church officials, who feared that the order's beliefs and practices could undermine the authority of the Pope. Despite the Church's condemnation, the Templars were not easily defeated. While the order was officially disbanded, many Templars managed to escape the purge. They fled to various parts of Europe, including Scotland, where they were protected by sympathetic rulers who recognized the Templars' importance and influence. In Scotland, the Templars' legacy continued to survive in secrecy, their knowledge and traditions passed down through new generations. Some researchers believe that the Templars who escaped continued their esoteric practices in hidden locations, preserving the order's teachings in secret, away from the eyes of the Church and the monarchy. These survivors may have played a key role in the creation of new secret societies, such as the Freemasons, continuing the Templar mission under a new guise. The aftermath of the Templars' fall also sparked a series of conspiracy theories, many of which have persisted to the present day. Some believe that the Templars had hidden their treasures, vast caches of gold, relics, and sacred knowledge, before their arrest, and that these treasures remain hidden to this day. The idea that the Templars' wealth and secrets were concealed in remote locations, such as Rosslyn Chapel in Scotland or Oak Island in Canada, has fueled countless treasure hunts and speculations. Others suggest that the Templars' true purpose was not just religious or military, but that they were involved in a much larger, more mysterious agenda, one that involved the protection of ancient, esoteric knowledge that could change the world if ever revealed. One of the most enduring aspects of the Templar legend is the idea that the order was betrayed by those who were once its closest allies. The Church, which had once supported the Templars' missions and protected their wealth, turned against them in their time of need. King Philip, too, who had once been a benefactor of the Templars, betrayed them for his own political gain. In this sense, the Templars' fall represents a deep betrayal not only by secular authorities, but by the very institution they had pledged to serve, the Catholic Church. The sense of betrayal is particularly poignant given the Templars' role in defending the faith and protecting Christian pilgrims during the Crusades. Their dedication to their cause and their willingness to fight for the Church ultimately left them vulnerable to the very forces they had once fought to protect. The Templars' fall also highlights the brutal and often arbitrary nature of power in medieval Europe. The accusations against the Templars, many of which were later proven to be false or exaggerated, were part of a larger effort to eliminate a rival power that threatened the established order. The Templars were seen as a threat not only because of their wealth and military strength, but because of their independence and autonomy. They represented a force that existed outside the direct control of both the Church and the monarchy, and this made them dangerous in the eyes of those in power. In the centuries following the Templars' fall, their legacy would continue to grow in the form of myth, legend, and speculation. The questions surrounding their secrets, their wealth, and their hidden knowledge would spark the imaginations of countless individuals and organizations. Whether or not the Templars truly discovered the secrets of the Holy Grail or possessed ancient relics, their story has become a symbol of both betrayal and the search for hidden knowledge. The fall of the Templars, marked by political intrigue, betrayal, and tragedy, continues to be one of history's most compelling mysteries, one that has left a lasting impact on the world of secret societies, conspiracy theories, and the pursuit of forbidden knowledge. In conclusion, the fall of the Knights Templar was not simply the end of a powerful medieval order. It was the culmination of centuries of political maneuvering, religious tension, and deep personal betrayal. The Templars, once revered for their devotion and bravery, were ultimately brought down by those they had once served. The destruction of the Templar Order continues to resonate with historians, mystery seekers, and conspiracy theorists, as the shadow of their downfall still looms over the modern world. Their story, filled with intrigue, betrayal, and hidden knowledge, remains one of history's most captivating and unresolved mysteries. Sacred geometry is an ancient system of symbols and principles that seeks to understand the fundamental patterns and structures of the universe. For the Knights Templar, it was more than just a mathematical or artistic pursuit. It was a spiritual practice, a tool for unlocking deeper knowledge about the divine, the cosmos, and the human soul. Sacred geometry, with its intricate and harmonious designs, was integral to the Templars' philosophy and their understanding of the divine order. The idea that the universe is built upon sacred patterns was not just an abstract concept for the Templars. It was a belief system that guided their every action, their architecture, and their rituals. Understanding the role of sacred geometry in the Templar Order is essential for unraveling the mysteries surrounding their beliefs and practices. At the heart of Templar sacred geometry was the belief that the universe was created according to divine laws, and these laws could be expressed through numbers, shapes, and proportions. The Templars were deeply influenced by ancient traditions, particularly those of the Egyptians, the Greeks, and the early Christians, who all believed that the universe was structured according to a divine plan. The idea that the universe itself was a reflection of a higher spiritual truth became a cornerstone of Templar thought. The Templars, as both knights and spiritual seekers, sought to understand these divine patterns and incorporate them into their work. From the construction of their castles and churches to their mystical rituals, sacred geometry was woven into every aspect of Templar life. The most well-known example of sacred geometry in Templar architecture is the design of their churches and chapels. Many Templar buildings were constructed using precise geometrical measurements and proportions, often based on the principles of the golden ratio, a mathematical constant that appears throughout nature and is thought to reflect divine harmony. The use of the golden ratio in Templar architecture was not accidental. It was a deliberate attempt to create spaces that embodied the sacred principles of the universe. This is particularly evident in buildings like the famous Rosslyn Chapel in Scotland, which is filled with geometrical patterns, carvings, and symbols that many believe are coded messages pointing to hidden knowledge. The chapel's intricate design is not just decorative. It is believed to hold the key to understanding the Templars' deeper spiritual teachings. In addition to the golden ratio, the Templars were also influenced by the geometry of the ancient Egyptians, whose pyramids were designed with remarkable precision and aligned with the stars. The Egyptians believed that their sacred architecture was a direct expression of cosmic order, and the Templars, having spent considerable time in the Holy Land, would have been familiar with these concepts. The Templars' interest in Egyptian symbolism and geometry is evident in many of their structures, as well as in their initiation rituals. The symbolism of the pyramid, in particular, became a recurring theme in Templar iconography, representing spiritual ascension and the pursuit of divine knowledge. The Templars were also influenced by the teachings of the Pythagoreans, an ancient Greek philosophical school that believed in the divine significance of numbers and proportions. The Pythagoreans held that numbers were the key to understanding the structure of the universe, and they used sacred geometry as a means of exploring the relationship between the material and spiritual realms. This belief in the divine power of numbers was passed down to the Templars, who incorporated Pythagorean principles into their own mystical teachings. For the Templars, numbers were not just tools for measurement. They were symbols of spiritual truth, each one carrying a hidden meaning that could be deciphered by those with the right knowledge. One of the key symbols in Templar sacred geometry was the square. The square, with its 4 equal sides and right angles, was a symbol of stability and balance. It represented the material world and the earthly realm, but it also had a deeper spiritual significance. This sense of divine kingship, linked to the Grail, is reflected in the Templars' own mission, one that was, according to some interpretations, to guard not just the physical wealth of Christendom, but the sacred knowledge of a divine bloodline, one that transcended the boundaries of Christianity and reached into the heart of human history. While the Templars' role in guarding the Grail remains a matter of speculation and debate, the idea that they were deeply involved in a mystical quest for the Grail is widely supported by those who study the Order's activities. In the years following their disbandment, the Templars were often linked with the pursuit of the Grail in both myth and legend. Some claim that the Templars hid the Grail or its knowledge in secret locations, such as Rennes-le-Château in France, where the priest Berenger Saunier's sudden wealth and mysterious actions sparked theories about hidden Templar treasures and sacred relics. Others suggested that the Grail was not a single object, but a series of sacred teachings, passed down through secret societies like the Freemasons, who are believed to have inherited the Templar legacy. The pursuit of the Grail also had a profound spiritual dimension for the Templars. The Grail quest was not just about finding a physical object, it was about seeking a deeper spiritual understanding. In many ways, the Templar connection to the Grail can be seen as a symbolic journey toward enlightenment, a quest to uncover the hidden mysteries of the divine. The Grail, in this sense, becomes a symbol of the highest spiritual achievement, a state of divine grace and unity with the cosmos. The Templars, with their initiation rites, hierarchical structure, and esoteric teachings, were uniquely positioned to be the custodians of this spiritual path. Their rituals, many of which remain shrouded in secrecy, were designed not just to prepare knights for battle, but to initiate them into a higher level of spiritual awareness, one that could bring them closer to the divine mysteries symbolized by the Grail. In the centuries following the dissolution of the Templar Order, the Grail continued to hold immense symbolic power. It became the subject of numerous literary works, such as the Arthurian legends and later works of European literature, which cast the Grail as a symbol of the sacred and the unattainable, a mystical object that only the purest and most virtuous could hope to attain. For many, the Grail came to represent a search for the ultimate truth, an ideal that could not be fully realized in this world. The Templars, with their secretive ways and their esoteric knowledge, became the perfect mythic guardians of this elusive treasure. The connection between the Templars and the Grail also had a profound impact on the development of Western esotericism. Secret societies that followed in the Templars' wake, such as the Freemasons and the Rosicrucians, were steeped in Grail symbolism. These groups adopted many of the Templars' symbols, rituals, and teachings, and some even claimed to have preserved the secret knowledge that the Templars had guarded. The pursuit of the Grail, in this sense, became a metaphor for the ongoing search for hidden spiritual truths that were passed down from one generation of initiates to the next. This sense of continuity and secrecy imbues the Grail with even greater power, as it represents not just a relic of the past, but an ongoing quest for divine understanding. The Templar-Grail connection is further reinforced by the powerful legacy of the Templars' influence on later Western spiritual traditions. The idea of the Grail as a vessel of divine knowledge and sacred power is central to the work of many modern esoteric thinkers. Whether or not the Templars actually possessed the Grail as a physical object is secondary to the deeper meaning they attach to it. For the Templars, the Grail was not just an artifact. It was a symbol of a spiritual journey that transcended the material world. In many ways, the Grail represents the highest aspiration of human existence, the quest for truth, enlightenment, and unity with the divine. The story of the Templars and the Grail is, in the end, a story of spiritual yearning, a search for something higher than the world around us. Whether or not the Grail was a physical relic hidden by the Templars, it remains a powerful symbol of the mysteries they guarded. The Templars' connection to the Grail is not just a tale of knights and relics, but a deeper narrative about the quest for divine knowledge and the eternal search for truth. This quest, it seems, is as timeless as the Grail itself. The downfall of the Knights Templar is one of the most dramatic and tragic events in the history of the medieval world. What began as a powerful and influential order of knights, charged with protecting Christian pilgrims and holding vast amounts of wealth and land across Europe, ended in betrayal, public humiliation, and mass execution. The dissolution of the Templar order in the early 14th century has been the subject of much speculation, mystery, and intrigue. While the official explanation points to charges of heresy and corruption, many believe there was a darker, hidden agenda behind the Templar persecution, one that involved power struggles, political machinations, and the desire to suppress the Templars' secret knowledge and influence. The story of the Templar downfall begins in the early 1300s, during the reign of King Philip IV of France. At the time, the Templars were one of the most powerful and wealthy organizations in Europe, with vast estates, a well-organized network of commanderies, and unparalleled influence. The order had grown so rich and powerful that it had become a significant player in European politics, managing royal finances, protecting territories, and even lending money to monarchs. However, the Templars' immense wealth and influence would soon become a source of jealousy and fear for some of the most powerful figures in Europe, particularly King Philip IV of France. King Philip was deeply in debt to the Templars. Over the years, he had borrowed large sums of money from the order to fund his wars and lavish lifestyle. As the king's financial situation grew more desperate, he sought a way to eliminate his debts and gain access to the Templar wealth. However, King Philip's reasons for persecuting the Templars were not solely motivated by financial greed. There were also political and religious factors at play, as well as the possibility that he saw the Templars as a threat to his own power and authority. In 1307, Philip took action. Using a combination of political maneuvering and religious fervor, he orchestrated a campaign to bring down the Templar order. The king pressured Pope Clement V to issue a papal bull that authorized the arrest of the Templar leaders and the confiscation of their property. On Friday, October 13th, 1307, a date that has since become synonymous with bad luck, the Knights of France were arrested, tortured, and accused of a variety of crimes, including heresy, blasphemy, and sodomy. Many of the knights confessed under torture, though it is widely believed that these confessions were coerced. Those who resisted the charges were burned at the stake, while others were imprisoned or executed. The public charges against the Templars were shocking. The order was accused of secretly worshipping a pagan idol called Baphomet, engaging in ritualistic practices, and committing acts of blasphemy. These accusations were spread far and wide, damaging the Templars' reputation and turning public sentiment against them. The fact that many of the knights confessed to these charges, again, under duress, added fuel to the fire, and the Templars' fall from grace seemed inevitable. But was this really the true reason for the persecution of the Templars, or was there a hidden agenda at play? Many historians and conspiracy theorists suggest that the charges of heresy were merely a pretext for a far more complex and sinister plan. In fact, some argue that the Templars were targeted not because they had committed any religious crimes, but because they held secrets that threatened the established order. The Templars were known for their vast collection of knowledge, both spiritual and material. It is believed that they possessed ancient texts, esoteric wisdom, and powerful symbols that had been passed down from earlier civilizations. These secrets, many theorize, were viewed as a direct challenge to the authority of the Church and the monarchy. The Templars, it is said, had discovered truths that could undermine the religious and political foundations of the medieval world. One of the most enduring theories about the Templar persecution centers on the idea that the order was safeguarding ancient, forbidden knowledge. Some have suggested that the Templars came into possession of powerful relics or documents during their time in the Holy Land, particularly during the Crusades. The most famous of these alleged relics is the Holy Grail, but the Templars were also thought to have uncovered other sacred artifacts, such as the Ark of the Covenant or Gnostic manuscripts that were believed to contain hidden teachings about the nature of God and the universe. These objects and texts, if they truly existed, would have been seen as a direct challenge to the authority of the Catholic Church, which controlled religious knowledge in Europe at the time. The Catholic Church, under Pope Clement V, had a vested interest in preserving its monopoly on religious knowledge. The Church was the central authority in medieval Europe, and any challenge to its teachings or hierarchy was seen as a direct threat. Some historians believe that the Church, under pressure from King Philip IV, took swift action to destroy the Templars not because of any real heresy, but to eliminate their perceived threat to church power. The idea that the Templars were guarding forbidden knowledge is further supported by the fact that many of the order's documents and treasures were never recovered after the Templars were disbanded. The knowledge and artifacts that they had accumulated were either hidden away or destroyed, possibly to prevent them from falling into the wrong hands. The Templar persecution also had significant political ramifications. By dismantling the Templar order and seizing their wealth, King Philip IV was able to greatly enhance his own power and resources. The confiscation of the Templars' lands and treasures allowed the king to consolidate his authority, both in France and in Europe. However, this victory came at a great cost. The Templar downfall created a power vacuum, and it is believed by some that Philip's political ambitions were not just about wealth, but about establishing a new religious and political order. The king's actions led to the rise of new secret societies, such as the Freemasons, which are thought to have inherited the Templar legacy and their esoteric knowledge. In the aftermath of the persecution, the surviving Templars went into hiding, and many scholars and occultists believe that the order never truly disappeared. Instead, they argue that the Templars went underground, continuing their work in secret through various networks and societies. The Freemasons, for example, are often cited as the modern-day inheritors of the Templar tradition. Some theorists argue that the Freemasons, through their rituals, symbols, and teachings, are the spiritual successors to the Templars, preserving their hidden knowledge and secret teachings for future generations. The Templar persecution also highlights the complex relationship between religion, power, and knowledge. In the medieval world, the Church wielded enormous influence, and any challenge to its authority was met with swift and brutal retribution. The Templars, with their vast resources, esoteric knowledge, and independent power, were seen as a direct threat to the established order. Their fall was not simply the result of accusations of heresy, but the culmination of a larger struggle for control over knowledge, wealth, and spiritual authority. In the centuries that followed, the Templars' persecution became the stuff of legend, and the mystery surrounding their downfall has only grown over time. The order's wealth, their secrets, and their apparent connection to the mystical and the occult continue to fuel theories and speculation. The Templars' tragic fate, however, also serves as a warning. The dangers of power, the allure of forbidden knowledge, and the lengths to which those in power will go to protect their interests are timeless themes that still resonate today. The fall of the Templars is not just a story of betrayal and execution. It is a tale of hidden agendas, of powerful institutions seeking to control knowledge and suppress anything that threatens their authority. It is the story of a secret order that held knowledge too dangerous for the powers of the time, knowledge that continues to captivate the imagination of those who seek the truth that was hidden away for centuries. Whether or not the Templars possessed ancient relics or sacred texts, their persecution remains a potent symbol of the ongoing struggle between power and knowledge, and the enduring mystery of the secrets they guarded. The fall of the Knights Templar in the 14th century may have been dramatic, but it marked the beginning of a much larger and more profound influence that would ripple through the centuries. Though officially disbanded and suppressed by the Catholic Church, the Templars' legacy did not simply vanish. Instead, it evolved and resurfaced in various forms, taking on new identities through secret societies, esoteric groups, and underground movements. These organizations, in many ways, continue to shape the hidden currents of global power, influencing political decisions, cultural movements, and even the very fabric of modern society. The Templars, whether through their symbols, knowledge, or ethos, have left a mark that extends far beyond their time, and the story of their influence is still unfolding today. The most direct descendants of the Templars, some would argue, are the Freemasons, an ancient and influential fraternal organization that has often been linked with the Order of the Knights Templar. Though the Freemasons themselves deny direct lineage from the Templars, the symbols, rituals, and philosophies of Freemasonry bear striking similarities to those of the Templars. Freemasonry, like the Templars, has a deep-rooted tradition of secret knowledge, initiation, and the pursuit of enlightenment. The connection between the Templars and Freemasons is reinforced by the shared use of symbols such as the compass, square, and the all-seeing eye, symbols that have deep esoteric meanings related to sacred geometry, divine knowledge, and the construction of the spiritual temple. These parallels have fueled the belief that the Freemasons are the modern-day heirs to the Templar legacy, continuing the work of preserving and passing on secret knowledge. Freemasonry, however, is just one example of the many secret societies that claim to carry the Templar torch. Other organizations, such as the Rosicrucians, the Illuminati, and various European aristocratic bloodlines, are also often tied to the Templars. These groups, like the Freemasons, are said to possess knowledge and wisdom that has been passed down through the ages, originating from the secret teachings and mystical practices of the Templars. While these organizations are often shrouded in secrecy, they have had a profound influence on the development of Western civilization, particularly in the fields of politics, science, and philosophy. The Templars' influence on modern secret societies is not just about symbols and rituals. At its core, the Templar legacy represents the transmission of hidden knowledge, knowledge that, according to many theories, has been carefully guarded and passed down through generations. This knowledge is said to encompass not just spiritual or religious teachings, but also advanced concepts related to governance, economics, and even the very structure of society itself. Some believe that the Templars' discoveries during their time in the Holy Land, particularly their access to ancient texts and artifacts, gave them profound insights into the nature of power, law, and human governance. This understanding of hidden power is said to have been one of the most valuable aspects of the Templar tradition, knowledge that has been quietly wielded by select groups throughout history. One of the key areas in which the Templars' influence is still felt today is in the world of global finance. The Templars were one of the first organizations to develop a banking system that allowed for secure and efficient transfers of money across vast distances. This system, which was based on a complex network of accounts and letters of credit, laid the groundwork for modern banking practices. The Templars' ability to move money and resources across Europe was not just a logistical feat. It was a powerful tool that allowed them to amass vast amounts of wealth and influence. It is believed by some historians and conspiracy theorists that the Templars' financial innovations were passed down to other secretive banking families, many of which played a significant role in shaping the global financial system.